welcome to Atlanta Mix 108. Up next is Author Talk with your host, M.L.Ruscsak.
Welcome, Atlanta, to another edition of Author Talk. I'm your host, M.L.Ruscsak, and I'm here with Kim Munkus. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Great. And we're here to discuss your wonderful book, The Boy Who Became a Fish. Now, that's a really interesting title, but welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, this is a children's book. From time to time, I love having my children's authors on here, so it can be really cool to get on your way home from work and you go, oh, my son or daughter would love that book. So it works out great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about the book a little bit. Where did you get this idea?
I was out sitting on our back being closed, and I was drinking coffee, and for some reason, we have this chipmunk that kind of goes in and out from underneath our house. There's a little hole in the little access panel, so it goes underneath the house and everything, and I just started calling it Chippy, and I watched it for several hours, and for some reason, something popped up in my head, a little boy, fishing, and I ran inside, got my computer, and went back outside, and I guess Chippy was the one that inspired me to do it, so I started writing a little bit about Timmy, who's the little boy who wants to become a fish, and he just loves fish. And if you hear my dogs in the background, they're barking.
Oh, it's perfectly fine.
That was how my inspiration came out.
And it's wonderful that you were able to create this children's book from an inspiration from a chipmunk, which, as I say all the time, we find inspiration in everything. It could be a word, it could be a song, it could be an animal outside. So. Yeah.
Right. Of course, I've got a second book coming out, too, and that is about Chippy, so.
That's what I was just about to ask, if you have any more besides this one that you're getting ready to come out with. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of getting it published right now. I'm going to do the self-publishing on that one myself. I'm waiting on my artist to finish doing all my drawings for me so I can go ahead and put it all together. And I'm writing like the sequel to that one as we're speaking, so it's.
Now, you're doing self-publish, or you doing Kindle Direct, or are you going through different self-publishing? Just curious.
My first one, The Boy Who Became a Fish, I went through Outskirts Press. They're located in Colorado. And it seemed like it took a little bit longer for me to get that done. I mean, they did a great job on the book. But as far as trying to promote, I'm having to pay a little bit more money to try to get it promoted. And then I got onto Facebook and found the authors' pages on there, and that's how I ended up finding you to do my interview on the radio for this. But that's been pretty cool. I've been going to different book signings and being able to throw it out there for that, too. And it's been kind of fun because you're finding out new authors and other people, too, and their ideas also. But, the second book I'm going to be doing through the Kindle.
Okay. See, I love my craft fairs and my book fairs, book signing. It's not just a way to connect with authors, but you're connecting with potential readers.
Right. I've noticed that, too. It's very interesting.
See, I got into Wild Dreams from doing a book signing, and the girl that I was sitting next to during the book signing was already with Wild Dreams, and she said, you should take this self-publish and come over to my publishing house. So I landed there, and now I'm director of marketing on top of doing this wonderful show on Atlanta.
Okay. Well, I've heard a lot of authors saying that it's easier to publish themselves and that they've opened up their own publishing companies, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've done both. I've done self-publishing. I've been with publishing houses. But it's give and take what you're wanting as an author for not only yourself, but for your book.
Right.
So it also depends on how much time you actually have on your hand to do a lot of the marketing yourself.
Right. Yeah,
it's always interesting.
But this here is just, this book was basically the first one, and like I said, I mean, the publishing company was great. They suggested this title page or this front cover page. I had actually chose another picture for the front cover. Now I wished I had used that one, but because I've had several people tell me, well, it's really not that appealing with the cover, and I'm like, well, I don't think so either, but, maybe one day I'll republish it and put the real picture on the front of it like I wanted.
Right. It's your book, so you get the final say, but when you're in certain publishing houses, they have the final say. It's, like I said, I've heard good things about Outskirts. I've heard negative things about Outskirts, but I hear that from every publishing company out there, including self-publishing companies. So it's just give and take what you're wanting. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
okay.
As an author, talking to another author, it's up to you to decide what you want. And I'm not saying self-publishing is the best. I'm not saying big houses are the best. They all have plus and negatives, and you have to weigh what works for you as the author. So.
Right.
And
true.
That's for
and
any
how
job,
much money
really.
you want to put into it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
What I'm learning, too, with being an Authors Guild member is never pay a publishing house to publish your work. They're there to make money from royalties. They're not there to make money from you up front. If they're asking for money up front, that should be a major red flag.
Things to hear.
So, yeah, you're a new author.
I did have to pay up front with some of this. Do what?
You're the author. I mean, with marketing, you're going to pay up front. But that is also tax deductible as when you do your 1099 at the end of the year.
Okay.
So, but when you're paying for a publishing company to publish your book, that should be an instant red flag. They should be making money from the book itself, not from making you pay ahead.
Okay. All right.
So that's a word of advice, not only to you, but anyone out there in our listening audience is thinking about publishing a book themselves.
Right. Good idea. Thank you for the info.
Yeah, I tend to throw things out there every once in a while. Something hits me. Yeah, here's a little bit of advice. So, but it's all trial and error too. So. But let's get back to your book because it is a children's book, and we want the children to have fun with this. So we have Timmy wanting to be a goldfish. Where does that go? Does he meet any interesting friends along the way that you can tell us about?
Yeah. I mean, it's he loves to play at the creek behind his house. He's always pretending to have friends that he is playing with. And then Huey is a goldfish, and he's always pretending to play with imaginary friends, too. He happens to swim up the creek, and when Timmy's up there playing, and he pops his head out of the water behind some rocks, and he listens to Timmy talking and saying he wished he was a goldfish, and then all of a sudden he decides he's going to try to talk to him. And he says, I see you want to be a goldfish. And of course, Timmy's like, now wait a minute. who said that? And he looks around and sees a goldfish, and he says, I know. Why can't I understand you? How is it possible? And he says, I don't know, but you can. And he said, I can understand you. And he says, did you say you would like to be a goldfish? And he says, yes. And he says, okay, so put your head in the water. And when he does, he turns into a goldfish. And they just wander off, swimming back and forth. They're going downstream, and they're playing chase and hide and seek. And Huey's showing him the world of under the water, and he's they're exploring a lot, and they come up on different things, especially when he first turns into a fish. He says, how is it that you're as big as I am and I'm as big as you? And he says, come on, I'll show you. And he carries him downstream a little bit to a piece of glass sticking in the water, which is literally half of a little piece of mirror. And he can see his reflection in it, and he says, wow, I see two goldfish. And he says, no. He says, the one on the left is me, the one on the right is you. And he starts dancing around, flopping his fins and saying, look, my hands are fins, and my feet are fins. And they meet up with some other goldfish who are bullies, and Timmy happens to yell at him and tell him that it's not nice to bully Huey. So he ends up meeting his mother, and their time in the water is totally different from the time outside of the water. So it's but they end up being really good friends, and every day when he goes down to the creek, he dips his head in the water, and Huey's there waiting on him, and they go playing. He comes back and dips his head back out of the water, and he's back to his little boy again and goes home. That's basically the gist of it.
That's wonderful. Now, when you were writing this, I noticed you picked up on the bullying. Was that consciously or subconsciously you put that in the book?
I went to a book I went to a book signing called Bessemer Library here in Birmingham, and there was an author sitting next to me, and he had wrote his life experience, and he bought the book, and he read it, and he passed me the same question. He said, I like how you integrated the bullying in there and how not to bully. And I said, that's the first time that really was brought to my attention. I said, I really had no speculations of actually putting anything educational in there. I said, I was just writing is what I was doing. And I said, and it just came to my mind. I said, but you bringing it up, it does bring it up to where it's kind of educational not to bully someone or take up for yourself or take up for your friends that are being bullied. So that's how it actually was brought to my mind, was that way. So I don't know if you could say it was subconscious, and it could have been subconsciously that I actually did that. And it's just, I guess we could say that it was.
Well, it's great that you were able to integrate that subconsciously into your book, because there's a whole big incentive right now against the anti-bullying. And we need to start our children off young to learn, hey, it's not okay to insult people, because that's what it is.
Right.
It's an insult. It's not just bullying. It's an insult. And then you go to being mean and to hurting people's feelings, but all this other stuff. But you start with, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And that's something that I was taught from the knee up. So, and I think parents need to get back to that teaching young as 2, hey, it's not okay to bully someone. Be nice.
Right. And I guess the reason why I've gotten into the children's books, because I've got a 4-year-old grandson, and my daughter and him live with us, and he kind of inspired me to do some stuff too. So, and by you saying that, she's been training him and trying to teach him since he was old enough to understand not to push and bully and to share and all too. So which we're proud of her for doing that. So it's something that's being instilled. We're proud of her parents who start that off instead of the parents that go on their cell phones
and ignore the child and don't pay attention when they shove another toddler down to the ground to get their toy or whatever the case may be.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Putting that
That's
out there
the good
every once
thing.
in a while. We do a little bit of education on this show. Not a whole lot.
Well, a little bit helps everything.
Exactly. You throw something in there, and someone might pick up on that one cue or whatever the case may be.
And who knows, a child that is a bully may read it and say, hey, I need to stop doing that.
Yes, I've had several authors on here that have anti-bullying in their theme of one of their books. And some of them are meant for the bullying themselves to go basically say, hey, it's not okay of them doing this. And then you carry that on to adulthood. So,
right.
But as I said, it starts young, and then we work our way up until adults.
Right.
But I see a lot of more and more that adults don't always preach what they're trying to teach their children, and then their children do what their parents do instead of what their parents say.
Right.
But we have that. Now, your book about Chippy, do you have a title in mind so far?
Yes, right now I've got it set as Chippy the Chipmunk, and that one is going to be about, like I said, the inspiration. And I actually literally took a picture of this chipmunk that actually comes out, and he comes out every morning, gets up on his hind legs, and he kind of looks like he's wiping his face off with his paws, and he's looking at the world. And I took a picture of it because my husband says, you need to take a picture of that and put it in your book somewhere and say, this was my inspiration right here. And I actually did take it, so I've got to load it up onto the computer. But he becomes friends with a squirrel named Squeaky, because we have oak trees in our yard, and there's squirrels everywhere, and you hear them clicking all over the place. And they end up playing and going and finding nuts to carry to their homes and berries, and they go exploring and doing a lot of stuff. And a dog comes out and chases them, and that was inspired to me by our Boston Terrier, because there are other chipmunks in the yard, and he hasn't gotten to hold a Chippy yet, which we're glad of that. But we've got this. There was like a fence post that was actually sitting up, which was actually, it was a pole that was for a downspout, and he knocked it loose, and one of the chipmunks got up in it, and she was trying to get to it. And I even integrated that into the book. So it was like, and I integrated it like it was Chippy, and him and Squeaky were playing, and he's telling Squeaky, run up the tree, and he runs up the tree, and he finally jumps out and goes through the fence where the dog can't get her. And but it's going to be a little bit longer of a book than this one here, because I got more in depth than that one was going on and on about it.
Well, I find that doing your second book usually comes easier, because then you find your writing voice. You have a storytelling voice that you talk to kids in, but when you find your writing voice, then it becomes easier and easier.
Yeah. And I guess that's why the third book is coming out. I was thinking of it as I was finishing up on Chippy the Chipmunk. That one is going to be Mr. Squiggles, the life of Mr. Squiggles, and he's a squirrel also. And the reason why I'm integrating it is because Chippy and Squeaky are his neighbors, and they come over to his house to try to get him to come out and play with him in the evenings when he comes home from work.
So it's kind of a sequel in a way.
I've gotten on that one.
That's fine, because that gives you until next year to play around with Mr. Squiggles.
Right.
So,
right.
And figure out all of his ins and outs while you're writing the story, and then you find your talented designer, and you have a wonderful book again.
Right. Yeah. So,
No,
but that's
time.
basically okay.
We have some time here.
Do you want me to read a little, or?
Please.
Okay, I can read a couple pages if you'd like me to.
Please.
Okay, this is the beginning of it. Once upon a time, there was a little boy, Timmy, who loved to go to the creek behind his house and play. Now, Timmy had a good imagination. He always pretended to be a fish. One day, Timmy told his mom that he was going out back to play in the creek. Mom asked him, "What do you do down there at the creek?" Timmy said, "Oh, I play with my friends in the water." "Okay, just be careful, Timmy, and be back by 5 to eat supper," she told him. "Okay," replied Timmy, and out the door he went. He went running as fast as his feet could carry him down to the creek to play as he did every day. When he got down to the creek, he took his shoes and socks off, rolled up his pants legs, and waded into the water. He then started splashing around and talking to his imaginary friends. As he was playing, a fish happened to swim up the creek and saw what fun he was having. Timmy was talking to himself, saying, "I sure wish that I was a fish and could swim like they do." Now the fish was hiding behind a rock and just watching Timmy play and heard him say that he wished he was a fish. So he came out from behind the rock and swam around Timmy's feet, touching them as he did to get Timmy's attention. Timmy wiggled his feet and laughed because it tickled him. The fish kept swimming around his feet and tickling him. Finally, Timmy looked down in the water and saw a beautiful goldfish swimming around his feet and said, "Oh, so you're the one that is tickling me. You sure are pretty." Now, Timmy knew that fish didn't talk, but something happened that day when he said that, and the fish poked his head out of the water and said, "I know I did because I was trying to get your attention. I heard you say that you wished you were a fish so you could swim like we do. Are you sure that you would like to be one?" Timmy was shocked that the fish was actually talking to him. It surprised him, so he ignored the fish and turned around and started playing again in the water. The fish again said, "I heard you say that you wish you were a fish so you could swim like we do. Would you like to be one?" Timmy was very surprised because he heard the fish not once but twice talking to him. So he played along with the fish and said, "Yes, I did. That is oh goodness, I'm sorry. Yes, I did say that and would like to be a fish, but how is it possible for you to talk? Fish don't talk. They are not supposed to." The fish was a little aggravated that Timmy would say that, so he said, "We do talk. This is the way we talk all the time to each other. But how am I understanding you?" Timmy asked. "I don't know. I guess you can understand us," said the fish. "Come closer. Stick your head in the water." I'm going to kind of leave it at that because I'm getting a tickle in my throat.
There you go. Yeah, don't read the whole book because it'll spoil it for all those parents out there. But while we're here, where can we talk about you being on Facebook, but precisely where can readers find you?
Okay, I've got a website out there now, and it is called, it's my name, Kim Munkus, author, .com.
Okay.
And it's got, I'm usually posting information on book signings, and right now it's got this book on it, and it's also got the title of Chippy the Chipmunk, my second book coming out, and I'm every time I'm doing something, I'm actually updating stuff on there. And on Facebook, they can find me at Kim Munkus. They also have me a website on the outskirtspress.com, and I believe it's outskirtspress.com / The Boy Who Became a Fish by Kim Munkus. I think that's what it is. I'm not quite sure. I've got it on my Facebook page.
I'm sure if we Google your name, Kim Munkus, it should come up that way.
Yeah.
And you can probably find a whole lot more on Google, such as interviews you've done and out there in publication or internet publication, I should say. I find that Google is a wonderful tool when you're trying to find authors, because you don't just find their author page or their Facebook page, but you find everything that their name is linked to. It could be an interview from 5 years ago. It could be something from 2 days ago, but you can find everything there on Google. So, but I find that to be an awesome tool. Sometimes a little bit too personal if you want to go too much information out there, but you can find things.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And everybody tells me that they tell my husband they find him too, because he's got his own company, so he's on there also, and he's like, what?
See, I find that we search. See, my husband, we have obviously the same last name, and my pen name is our last name. So if you just look that up, you find so many more things than just about my books. Now, that could be good or bad, because some of the things that he's like, why are people friending me? I don't know these people. I'm not an author. I'm like, but you have the first initial to my pen name, which is also the first initial to my real name. So they just gamble, roll the dice, and there you go. So you have authors friending you just because they're assuming that they're getting the right M.L.Ruscsak.
I got you. Okay.
So it's cute sometimes. It's a little frustrating for him, but that's pay for having a spouse that's an author. See, I can't talk today either.
Is it, question for you, is it wise to use your regular name, or is it more better to have a pen name?
Personally, I like having a pen name because for the sake of Google, I don't want everyone knowing my address, my phone number, whatever you can find on Google that's attached to my full name. Where my pen name only comes up with my author stuff.
Okay.
So you really have to know me to know the correct spelling of my name to get all my personal information versus my pen name.
Okay.
So.
Okay, that's good information. I'll have to remember that.
Like I said, this is also an educational half hour. You're learning things.
Well, yes, it is.
So,
it certainly is, that's for sure.
Yes, thank you again for being on the show. And I look forward to hearing about Chippy when it comes out in publication.
Okay.
And Alana,
thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. And Alana, good night. Happy reading. And remember, the book today was The Boy Who Became a Fish. Very cute. So I'll leave everyone with that.